Hello guys and welcome back to yet another video. So today I'm gonna be taking you guys through the Mirage class. I'm gonna show you everything I found out about the class, maybe give you guys a little bit of a beginner's guide to the class. Now I don't want this video to be very long, just in case we get even more information to the class later on. I will be making a follow-up guide for that, but for now this is just a beginner's guide. I'm gonna be explaining all the mechanics and how Mirage works. So for the first thing, I kind of want to explain what kind of a class Mirage is. So Mirage is part of the assassin class. It has a very assassin kind of a theme, kind of a gameplay. He is very mobile. That is one of his pros. He is very mobile. It's a very mobile class. When you play at a very nice high level satisfactory, you're gonna be having a lot of dashes around, and I'm gonna be showing you how that one works in a little bit. Another pro that I have about Mirage is he is a ranged class, which is kind of surprising. Everything is kind of range, all the skills, everything. Some will do a little bit of gap closing, but yeah, most of them are ranged based or like medium range. So yeah, that's one of the cons. That is one of the pros, I mean. Also, his attack speed is extremely high. His base attack speed is extremely high. All the casting speed are extremely high. However, some skills can lock you in animation lock. However, you can't cancel out of them with dashes, although that cancels the skill. Doesn't apply to all skills, but I will be mentioning that in the tips section below. Not below. Next, another major pro for Mirage is his aero combat is extremely good. Let me summon the Queen. Queen is notorious for kind of requiring a lot of aero combat, and for Mirage, it's actually not a problem upkeeping your aero combat for a really long time without having to struggle or trying to figure out what to do. He does have a particular skill that will ground you, but I think it's only one of the skills. Everything else is fully aero, which is really good. And yeah, you can see how quick this class attacks. So yeah, that's a really good pro. But like with every other class, he does have a little bit of cons. The first one is about the animation lock. Some skills will animation lock you, but this is kind of alleviated with some skill. So it's a skill expression. There's ways to cancel out of these skills using your dash, using your basic attacks. I'll be mentioning that in a little bit. And then the second one, which is more of a skill issue as well. And this is something that also Magiblade kind of struggles with. The way the class works is managing your resource generation and also resource consumption. You have like this gauge down here. So when you do have 3 stacks on it, and some skill, one particular skill is going to be consuming these stacks, and if you use that skill without the stacks there, that skill goes on a cooldown. It's actually a very hefty cooldown, around 20 something seconds, and in that 20 seconds you can't really consume any of your stacks, and you are losing a lot of damage. So if you fail the combo or you use that skill by mistake, you're gonna notice you're gonna lose a lot of damage from that, and you're gonna get punished a lot, which is kind of similar with what Magiblade goes through when you mess up his combo. So yeah, that is that. So yeah, I wouldn't say Mirage has a lot of cons to him. He is actually a very well-rounded class. Especially right now, he is really strong. Maybe he falls down later on the line, but for now he is really strong. So let's quickly just go through the skills. I am gonna do this in sections. So we're gonna start with early game skills. So I'm doing from level 1 to level 10 skills. That's what we're gonna look at, and then we're gonna go to the next section. I've already set them up to my hotbar. So it's a total of 6 skills. So level 1, the 3 of them there, and then level 5 you do have 1 there, and then level 8 and level 10 you have your normal passive here, which is the resonance, which all classes have. He does have a nice elemental damage buff here. You can level this one up to max, of course, and then your quick recovery over here, and then you have your light armor master. So later down the line, when this becomes more of an issue, the light or the heavy or things like that, maybe this just means Mirage is more on the squisher side on the class spectrum. So let me quickly show you how these skills look like. Yeah, so this level 1 to 10 skills are not very impactful. They're just simple skills, just like the level 1 skill. It's just a quick dagger throw, and then a lingering dagger at the end, that's from its own passive. And then you do have your 2 skill. It's just a quick dagger throw, nothing major. And then you have the next one, which is some dagger throws as well. So boom, when we come back, so just like that, They don't have any mechanics to them, so I'm just gonna go through them very quickly. Then you have this one, looks really cool. It is a little bit of a gap close as well. Yeah, and some medium SA as well. So anytime my character lights up yellow, that means you have a medium SA. Let me show you. So this is a medium SA, and then when it lights up white, it's a weak super armor. See that? That's a weak super armor. So white. And then anytime your character lights up blue, that means you're in super armor. For example, your finisher, say that's a super armor. That's the meaning of the color coding in training ground, for those who did not know. And then for the remaining two skills, you have this. It's more like a quick dash. Boom, boom, like that. And then you have this. Now this one, the level 10 one, this is the level 10 skill. It is this skill here, Silent Shadow. Silent Shadow does do decent DPS, however, it's a very long cast time. So that's the entire skill. Very long, very long. But this one you can cancel anytime you want without doing the entire thing. However, it cancels the skill. It doesn't do all the hits. So if you cancel here, it cancels the entire skill. So yeah, that is that. You can cancel, but it does not finish the skill for you. So yeah, you lose the damage, but you can cancel out of the full animation. So yeah, that's the level 10 skill. So let's go to the level 15 section over here, and this is the big one. So to start with, we're gonna look at Momentum Blade, and I'm gonna level this up, and then I'm gonna put it on my one button over here. Let me put this one here. And then this one here. Yeah, so I just want us to focus on Momentum Blade. I'm only gonna give it a second one here. Momentum Blade and your class identity goes hand in hand. Just think about them like it's the same skill. So at level 15, you will unlock your class gauge down here, right? That's at level 15. So what this class gauge does is every time you do anything on your Mirage, so every time you are doing skills and stuff, you will be filling up your class gauge down here. So every time you do anything, basic attack, skills, everything will fill this up. When you have a full gauge, you can spend that gauge by casting Momentum Blade. This is Momentum Blade, the level 15 skill. This one. Momentum Blade as well. Okay, it's the number 1 skill, don't forget. I put it here. This is the Momentum Blade skill. Momentum Blade skill changes according to what element you're in. Now, let's pause a little bit when it comes to the class identity gauge and talk about the elements of the Mirage. Now, Mirage has 2 elements. One is your Umbro stance, and the second one is your Electro stance. You're going to notice one thing. Under every skill, you have like a tiny icon over here. So you see this like moon icon? That means that's an Umbro skill. And then you will have like an Electro icon over here, an Electro icon just underneath the skill. Those are Electro skills. And then you have your Umbro, your Electro, your Umbro. You see? That's you have 2 stances. You have your Electro stance and your Umbro stance. Now, I don't want to confuse you that much, because all this means is what kind of a skill it is. It does nothing in terms of damage or anything. There's no stance that does higher damage than the other stance. That's one thing I really want you guys to understand. So every time you do a skill that has the Electro icon, your bar just changes to yellow. However, it does nothing extra to it. And then anytime you do your Umbro, your bar will change to whitish. Oh, this is like gray. It does nothing extra. It just means you're now in the Umbro stance. Now, these stances only change one thing. The only thing that will change from stance to stance is your Momentum Blade. So if I do an Electro skill, notice how the number 1 hotkey changes. I do an Electro skill, and you'll see it changes to this one. I do an Umbro skill, boom, you see it changes to the Umbro one, right? The both of them will do the exact same damage, right? I am assuming you don't have any stats outside of like the best stats. With no extra multipliers like Umbro damage or Electro damage, they will do the exact same damage. So ideally, when you're building this, you just want to choose what you think looks cool for you. And if you're building Umbro, you're going to be spending your Umbro Momentum Blade. So this one. So they do look different. So this is how the Umbro one will look like. It's just dagger throws. So boom, that is how the Umbro one will look, right? Dagger throws. If you are using Electro, it changes the skills entirely. The damage will be the same, but how the skill works is different. Now for the Electro one, that is when you're gonna get the dash. See, that is the Electro version of Momentum Blade. It is a dash. It's not the dagger throws. The damage, however, will be the same with the dagger throws, assuming you have the exact same stats in terms of Umbro or Electro. That's the idea, right? So you're kind of choosing what you like more, what you think is the coolest. And I'll show you how you can like convert your entire kit to be Electro or the entire kit to be Umbro. Now, in that topic of element again, because I think I have to emphasize it a little bit. When you're doing these particular skills, I want you to notice how the damage numbers look. So since I'm in Electro stance, my damage will all be Electro. Basic attack damage will be Electro, right? Now, how you can tell your damage is Electro or Umbro or stuff, the damage numbers are usually color coded. So blue Electro damage will have like this blue tint on the skill numbers. You see the damage numbers, how it's like bluish. If you are in Umbro, it gets a purple hue kind of color code. You see how now my basic attacks are Umbro because I'm in my Umbro state. If I swap to Electro, the damage will also change to bluish on my basic attacks. That's how you know you're using a particular element on any class in the game. Pyro, you do get some yellowish thing, and then cryo damage, you do get some bluish numbers. So that's the idea, right? Okay, now I hope I haven't confused you guys. Let's circle back to the Momentum Blade skill. As I said, guys, when you are just playing your Mirage, you're gonna be filling up your gauge like that. You're filling it up. Some skills will fill them up much faster. I actually should have put them in, but just for the purpose of demonstration, these are the level 1 skills. They do that pretty slowly. But yeah, so every time you have the stack, just one. You don't have to have full 3 stacks. As long as one is full, when you use your Momentum Blade, it does not go on cooldown. It just spends one of the stacks. So boom, 1 stack gone. You can continue filling it up and use a Momentum Blade to use the 2nd stack as you're filling for the other one, right? So boom. Say you don't really lose a whole bar. It carries over to where it left off. Now, the main thing about Mirage is you do not want to spend Momentum Blade if you do not have a stack. So for example, you press this right now and the stack is not full. It goes on a hefty cooldown. That's a 21-second cooldown. And that is a long cooldown. That is a very long cooldown. And you're going to be losing a lot of damage. Because in 20 seconds, using the later on skills, not this level 1 skills, you can stack this 3 times, almost 2 times or 3 times if you have enough cooldown reduction. And those are like almost 9 Momentum Blades you're losing. And Momentum Blade is a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. So I want you guys to know that part. I know I've rambled a little bit when it comes to the class mechanic, but I really had to emphasize this point. So I really hope you guys have understood how the class mechanic works and how you're going to be using this to use your Momentum Blade every time you have a stack. And do not press Momentum Blade if you do not have a stack there, because the cooldown is really punishing. Now, with that out of the way, let's go to the next section. Let's call this the mid-game skill. So everything past plus 15 all the way to 45. Let's call this the mid-game skill. So I'm going to set them up on my hotbar, and then I'll show you what each of these skill looks like. So this one, from level 20 and above, some skills become a little bit more interesting. So for the first one, your Holiday Assault, just throw some daggers like that. That's a 17-second cooldown. However, it has a really cool mechanic to this. If you set up the passive, it has a passive on it. Let me find it. Here it is. It does have a passive on it. So Holiday Barrage, when you put the passive, it reduces this cooldown by up to 60% as long as you hit all your blades. So let's level that up. So you see how it had a 24-second cooldown. When you hit all your blades, you see how the cooldown reduces? Boom. Now you have a 12-second cooldown on that skill. And that skill does really nice damage. It's very nice. Not the highest, but it's a really nice filler skill to have. So keep that in mind. This skill with the passive has a very low cooldown. So boom, boom, boom. 12-second cooldown. It's a pretty nice passive to have if you're going to be going for that skill. Next, let's talk about the Windbreaker skill, the level 25 one. So Windbreaker is just a quick dash with some blades like that. Quick dash, some blades, nothing major. However, if you take the passive that you get at level 30, so this passive over here, it gives you an interesting buff. So every time you now use Windbreaker, you're gonna get this this swords like around your character. This gives you a 20% damage resistance buff. I think I can find it here. Let me see if I can get it. Here it goes. So Wind Sense. Wind Sense gives you a 20% damage resistance buff, which is really good. That makes you a little tankier than a lot of classes. So yeah, it's a really good skill to have. That passive is really good. Just do it. Forget 20-second cooldown, 25-second cooldown, but the buff lasts for 20 seconds. So a really good uptime on this defense buff on the Mirage. So that's a really good one to have. The next skill is Wipeout. So that is a level 35 skill, if I'm not wrong. No, level 30 skill. So you do have Wipeout. It doesn't really have anything to do. It's just some blades. Boom, 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 boom. And it's not very high damage, but it's okay. It's better than the level 1 skills by far. So just quick swords like that, so Hotkeys, and that's about it. Nothing major about that skill. Now let's go to the next one, Explosive Slash. Let me show you on the tree where it is. It's the level 35 skill, Explosive Slash. Now this skill does a lot of damage. This skill is really good, really good. And this is one of the major skills people have like seen in videos and stuff. This skill summons 3 blades like that does damage. If you set up the passive for it, you increase the amount of blades you throw out. So the passive at level 40, level that up, and you'll notice it's no longer 3 blades. Now you're gonna, it's no longer 3 blades, and now you're gonna have a total of 5. So boom, huge damage. That passive also increases the damage by 20% on the blades. So yeah, this is a bread and butter skill you're gonna be using. Also, this the higher level the skills on the tree, like the level 40, level 50, and level 60, will be generating a lot of resource for you. So keep that in mind. You see that one skill, almost 1 full bar on its own. However, there's also some things like gear, but I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. And then next, you do have a passive here that is called Tear. So all Tear does is you can put 2 debuffs on your enemy. The vulnerable debuff every time you're using Electro skill, and exhausted debuff every time you're using Umbro skill. So if you're a warlock, you know about exhausted and stuff. If you are someone like a bounty hunter, you know about vulnerable, because that's like vulnerable is like Electro kind of a debuff, and exhausted is always an Umbro kind of a debuff. However, so let me just show you how these debuffs look like. Look at the wooden dummy over here, because that's where the debuffs appear. I'm just gonna click it quick if I can, and then there they are. So you see the exhausted here. The problem with this debuff is they last for only 5 seconds and then they drop off. So you can't really have 100% uptime on this debuff. It's a very short debuff. However, you can have multiple stacks. For example, vulnerability, you can go all the way to 10 stacks. And 10 stacks is a 5% damage resistance debuff on the enemy. So your entire team does do 5% more damage, but it's only for 5 seconds, and then it drops off, and then you'll have to find another way of stacking that up. It's a very low debuff duration, very low. You cannot really upkeep this for a very long time, so keep that in mind. But it's always something nice to have. You can use it for openers in raids, so that your entire team just does a shit ton of damage on their openers, or like during a major mechanic where the boss is like stunned for a little bit after a mechanic, things like that. You can find ways to squeeze in a little bit of party synergy in it. So it does have that a little bit of party synergy in the class. Next, we do have your Eternal Torment. Let me show you which one is that. So Eternal Torment is this skill where you walk around and then you do some blades. So boom, 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 boom. Does a lot of damage. This skill does a lot of damage. Long cast time as well. However, don't worry guys, this skill is really easily cancelable. So before I even talk about the cancel, let's talk about the passive. So the passive on it increases the duration of the Eternal Torment, which gives you extra hits. So once you have the passive, the skill is even longer. So boom, boom, see how much longer that is. Okay, now the cool thing about this skill is you don't have to do this entire cast time. It's not necessary. You can easily cancel this skill, easily. Just basic attack, and it does the remaining of the skill. right? It does the remaining of the skill. So boom, basic attack, and then you see the skill continues where you placed it. If you want to change the direction on it, these are tips about this skill, right? If you want to change the direction of it, just press Q. That's where my hotbar is, and then using your WASD. I don't know how mobile will work or PlayStation. I don't really play in those things, but use WASD and you're gonna change the direction of the skill. So that's one thing. If you are ever going to use it in any situation, know that you can quickly change the direction of the skill when you are doing the cast, maybe to follow a boss or whatever. I don't know how you're gonna apply that, but you're gonna follow people with the skill. It's cool, and you do have like some medium super armor when it comes to PvP. That matters, right? But yeah, you can always cancel this with just a quick basic attack. Cancel it. You can even do dash, so dash and then dash. Cancel it. It will continue and it will do the full duration. So never. I guess never really cast this and then just wait, because you're losing time. You can just be basic attacking for like extra damage. So boom, and then basic attack, extra damage, right? Cool things. We're getting to the more cool parts about Mirage. Now let's go to the level 51. Oh wait, I skipped this one. Okay, level 45. Level 45, you do get your level 45 awakening. Really cool awakening. Now one cool thing about this awakening is, for example, it does very good damage. You can't decide where to place it. So when you press E, you can hold E to hover in the air. So E, and then just hold it, right? Just hold it. The moment you release it, you're gonna release the skill, right? So just hold it up there. You can stay here for quite a long time. It's around 10 seconds. For full 10 seconds, you can be in the air choosing about where you want to go. And you're all this time you're in super armor. So really cool skill. For a boss like let's say Queen Coronation, right? So Queen is there. Do you remember there is that mechanic where the entire ground is on fire? Just press E. Watch as all your friends are dying around. Just watch them. When the mechanic ends, boom, continue your DPS as if nothing happened. That is super cool. I love that awakening. That's a really cool awakening. It's a very Zeus-like awakening, and you're free to place it anywhere. You can press it there. You are free to do it. So just hold E though. If you just tap it, it's going to quickly do it. So hold E, choose it, land like the god you are. Kaboom! Cool things. Let's talk about the passive that you get at level 45. So level 45, you get this Stygian Vault. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but yeah, I'm gonna say Stygian for today. From today henceforth, that's the new pronunciation for the word. Now, this passive looks a little bit complicated, but I'm just going to quickly explain it to you. What this does is it separates your elements into two different buffs. Now, every time you do an Umbro skill, you're gonna get a Stygian stack. And then every time you do an Electro skill, you're gonna get a Volt stack. Think of this like your Chariot kind of banner effects, right? So two different stacks. When you have two at the same time, like two alternating, like your Stygian and then your Volt, it's going to merge and give you the Stygian Volt buff, which increases your damage by 10 seconds for around by 10% for around 40 seconds. So I'm just going to explain to you as I do it. Now, let's use the first one, the Umbro skill here. So when you do the Umbro, any Umbro skill, you're gonna get Stygian buff. You see, it has no damage buff or anything. But when you use an Electro skill after an Umbro skill, see how they let it reset. So let's do Umbro, get 15 seconds of the buff. Now when I use an Electro skill after that, it's gonna merge into Stygian Vault, giving you 10% damage increase and 25% crit damage, and it will last for 1 whole minute. Very easy to upkeep this 100% of the time. All you need to do is alternate your skill, like do Umbro and do an Electro. It's actually very easy to do it, that just doing your normal rotation will always upkeep this buff. So for example, if I want to refresh this buff, I do have an Electro skill here and I do have an Umbro skill here. So I can do C and Q, and that resets that buff all the way to 1 minute again. I have the 10% damage buff and the 25% crit damage. It's 100% uptime on this buff. Really cool passive on the level 45. Don't get confused by it. It just says alternate your Umbro and your electro skill. So at least for your bar, I do have one full bar here. Let me show you by which one I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but just for the sake of explaining this one, I'll show you how this hotkey looks. You see I have electro here, umbro, electro, umbro, 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 electro. It also works with your momentum blade as well. It depends which one you choose, so keep that in mind. You're going to be using both I don't want to say both elements because I'll explain that in a little bit, because you have to choose one, but you just want to be using two different skills that have this different icons. Okay, that's more of the idea to activate this passive. So let's go back. I think we're done with the mid game skills. So let's say we are now in the late game skills. So level 50 onwards in the late game skills. You do have only two here. So when you go to level 50, you have two skills here. So you have your blade burst and you have your destructive resonance. Now blade burst looks like this. So it's just a barrage of daggers, boom, 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 and an explosion. Explosion is the highest damage. Make sure you can get the last hit on this skill. Now, just like this one, remember I showed you guys this one, you can cancel this one. However, you cannot cancel this with your basic attack. You cannot cancel this with your basic attack. The way to cancel this is using your dash. And it's really cool because when you cancel this skill, it continues the cast. So boom, 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 leave it. It still does the full cast. So that's a really, really cool mechanic there. So boom, 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 leave it. It's going to finish the entire cast. You cannot cancel this with your basic attack, so keep that in mind. Yeah, so yeah, that's how you actually cancel that. Using your dash, you can cancel that long animation there, and the skill will continue casting. So you can do something cool like do your Q, cancel this, cancel, and they both will continue casting, so that you can like do more DPS with your basic attack. So boom, 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 and then boom. See, a lot of damage like that, a lot of damage. And then let's go to destructive resonance. This is your drill skill. I call it the drill skill. So this skill, really, really good damage, very good damage. Boom, and then does a drill thingy, does a lot of damage as well. Now, in the Mirage's kit, this is the only skill that will ground you. Now, no other skill will ground you, but this one is a must. You cannot do this in the air or anything. It will always ground you. So keep that in mind when you're using it, but it's a must-have skill. It also has one of these, I think it's the highest resource generator on your entire kit. It does a lot of generation. It's a whole bar on its own, 1.5 actually. So yeah, really, really nice for getting your stacks. Really, really nice skill. Doesn't have that much going for it, but yeah, it's a really nice nice damage, nice resource generation, and then it has a passive that gives you shield damage, shield break efficiency plus 300%, which is really, really good for bosses and stuff. So keep that in mind. It basically drills into a boss. It just drills into them. So it's a really, really good skill to have. And in the end, we're gonna have the level 60 awakening. Also a really beautiful skill. It is an umbro skill. Let me quickly swap them. It's an umbro, just it does massive damage, really quick, massive damage. Now, this is one thing I didn't really know about the skill, and I had to find out the hard way so that I can help you guys. Now, if you tap the skill, I want you to notice something. If you just tap it and leave it, it's just gonna do pretty quick, and then boom, right? It looks okay, does really good damage at the end, but look at this. If you hold E, you can hold it, and then it's gonna do this. And then when you leave it, it's gonna explode for even higher damage. That is one thing I didn't know about the skill. I just found out when I was like trying to find out everything for the guide. But yeah, you want to be holding this skill for the maximum amount of damage. You are in super armor during all this entire duration, so don't really worry. Yeah, the entire duration. So you always want to hold this skill. Don't just tap it, because the tap is okay. You're losing a lot of damage. So you just want to boom, 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 boom. Boom. So the last explosion, the damage calculation on the last explosion is calculated by how many blades I'll drop in there, right? Another cool thing is this. You can't move where the damage you can't move where the damage is being applied. For example, let's say you have enemies here, boss there. You can do this, and then it's going to explode on the last location. So I don't know where you're gonna be applying that, maybe in PvP, but yeah, keep that in mind. If the boss tries to move, You can use the mouse, just your mouse cursor, and then just move it how you want the damage to be applied. But yeah, that's the cool thing. That skill had a lot to go in for it. I just thought it was just a servant release, but actually no, it has some mechanics into it. That's the level 60 awakening. Is a really strong skill. And I think that's it for all the skills we have covered. Now, like every class in the game, I believe, you always just want your level 55 skill going upwards, like in terms of priority, because the skills up here will always have less damage than the ones down here. That's just like the rule of Crystal of Atlan right now. So it's not even something I need to explain to you that you need to do this. No. Max out every skill at level 55, 50, 45, like that, going on your way up as your level of priority, right? And then you're going to notice one thing here. I don't have the level 25 skill. Like I have everything else and I've set them up in my hotkey, but I do have a level 1 skill here. Just the remaining points are on it with a passive as well, and I explain to you why in a little bit. So for those who kind of just want to copy my my hotkey, this is how my hotkeys look like. So just pause and then copy them, and then I'll explain to you why I have it set up the way I have. Let's talk about the rotation on the class. The rotation on Mirage is set up in such a way you wanna push in as many momentum blades as you possibly can. This class revolves around this skill. Momentum blade does a lot of damage. And a lot of his class set and stuff like that will be buffing momentum blade. You're gonna get your Insignias buffing momentum blade, things like that, right? So this skill is your bread and butter skill. The idea of the class is generate resource and then use that resource on your momentum blade. Now I want to explain my level 1 skill that is under momentum blade. The only reason I do have this skill here is the level 1 wearing light has a very low cooldown. It's a 5-second cooldown. The alternative for this would be to take Windbreaker. That gives me damage reduction. Okay, damage reduction. However, Windbreaker does have a 33-second cooldown, pretty long cooldown. One problem I ran into, let me just simulate that kind of a problem. Let me just do everything is on cooldown. Let me spend everything. Okay, you see how everything is off cooldown, and I am using Electro build. If I'm using Electro build, and then let me remove this one for now. Delete that. If I'm using Electro build, you'll notice my momentum blade is in the Umbro kind of state. It's in the dagger state, right? The only way to swap this one into electro state is to use electro skill, right? So that I can get the dash. That is the thing about the class. So let's say you are stacking around and you're like on full stacks using like your Umbro skill, and you don't have an electro skill to use to swap this into Umbro. That is the reason why I have the level 1 skill here under the momentum blade, because when I'm fully stacked like this and I want to quickly swap into electro, just press 1 and I'm in electro, and I can use my buffs, right? And then I can do anything I want. I don't really care about which state I'm gonna end up in, because I can just quickly do 1 and then momentum blade, and then do again. Doesn't really matter what I'm doing. Press 1, I'm in electro again, momentum blade. Do you guys see how it is working out? So even if I'm in Umbro, I just press 1, I'm in electro, and then blade. That is the idea behind that. Now, it's probably not the best way to play it, but that is probably the easiest. It's probably the easiest, because the alternative is, let's remove the skill. Let's assume we don't want the level 1 skill. The alternative is to have Windbreaker. Windbreaker is a really good skill. Don't get me wrong, really good skill. However, now you'll have to refine your rotation much more in such a way. You wanna make sure when you are filling up your stacks, the last skill you are using, if you are going electro, will be an electro skill like that one, so that your momentum blade is in this state. Once you are done, you do stuff, but you see how I am kind of stuck. I'm kind of stuck right now in Umbro and have no way of going back into into the electro momentum blades until I get a electro skill. A way to do that is to swap these two as well, but that's a long cooldown as well. So use that, use momentum blade, then boom, boom, boom. I'm kind of stuck, so I use the off cooldown. I set it up on cooldown actually. So yeah, I believe that has explained why I have this setup the way it is set up right now. The damage difference between those two ways is not really that much. All you're losing is the damage reduction debuff here, and you can easily swap out something like wipeout to this one. Actually, I think I would do that. Oh shit, actually I should do that. If you really want the damage reduction passive over here, you can substitute it for something like wipeout. So wipeout does a little bit more damage than windbreaker, but it doesn't have the damage reduction. So you might choose one of these and then keep the level 1 for easy stance swapping, because I think it's just the easiest way to ensure you are using you're getting the stance that you need, which is electro. Now if you want to build it an Umbro style, the same concept kind of applies. However, you're going to be using flying rotors for that. It does have a little bit longer cooldown at 9 seconds. This one is at 5 seconds. But with CDR, you should get this one to like maybe 6 seconds or so, because this one goes down to almost 3 seconds or something like that. It's really fast. So the same concept will apply if you are building Umbro, and Umbro will be using flying rotors, and for electro you're going to be using wailing light. And then for the second one, you're choosing between windbreaker and wipeout, because you can't really have both. You can't have both of them, so you have to choose one. So for me, I actually kind of like the damage reduction buff, so I'm a very careless person. So I am going to be using this one over there. They also generate the same amount of almost the exact same. This one does get wipeout, generates a little bit more, but it's slightly more, very slightly more, so it's not really that big of a deal. And then I'm going to be using wheeling light. I'm going to show you my rotation with it and why I use it the way it is. And then I'm going to use all the points, like the remaining one on this one. Then the remaining one, just get the passive. And boom. Yeah, so this is what I've decided to end up with in terms of my setup. This is the setup I'll be using. So this is how it is. Now I'm going to show you my full rotation using this, and I'm going to try and upkeep it as much as I can. So the rule of the rotation is we are not going to be using our momentum blade, so this skill, unless we do have a stack on us. So just quickly show you how the rotation will look like. So it will look like this. So I'm just going to try and get full stacks. Then I'm going to momentum blade. Then I'm going to try and stack it again. I'm going to momentum blade, and then I'm going to maybe ulti, momentum blade, ulti, blade, You see how I always have something to cast if I wait for my stacks. Blade. I'm not using anything now because everything's on cooldown, I mean. And then I'm gonna wait to stack, and then blade. I will not press it if I don't have a stack active. Blade, and boom. Oh, you see how I made a mistake and I pressed it? Now you see it's on cooldown. I can't do anything. I can't use the stacks at all. That is the problem with the Mirage. Now I'm in trouble. Until it comes off cooldown. You see how long it's taken? I can't spend any of my stacks. It doesn't matter what I do. Now it's back. Now I can have some fun again. So that is the issue. It's something to get used to. But it's super cool. You get like this. The rotation is actually pretty simple. It doesn't really matter what you do. You'll always have your class buff there. It's very easy to upkeep this buff. You don't even have to think about it, as long as you're just pressing everything off cooldown, to be honest, and then making sure you're not overflowing on stacks, right? You don't even have to have 3 stacks to use your momentum blade. The moment one fills up and you feel like you can do it without messing up your rotation, it's fine. It's super quick. It's super quick. You don't even notice doing it. You're just dashing all over the place. Okay. Now that is if I am using the electro side. Now I know there is people who absolutely love the Umbro side because the black ones. I don't know why. I like the yellow ones a little bit more. So let's just, for the purpose of demonstration, let's swap it out and let's put in our flying motors over here. I'm gonna put in here for this purpose of it works the exact same way. The difference now is instead of the dash on momentum blade, we're gonna be using the daggers. It's gonna be this, right? It's gonna be that. So the rotation will look like something like this. Full stacks, but you see that the 9-second on swapping into Umbro is a little bit longer than the electro one, so you'll have to keep that in mind. You need a little bit more CDR to get that lower, but yeah, I personally don't like that one, the Umbro one, because it does have a little bit of a cast time kind of a thing. It's not the same as your electro. The electro one is like it's instant. It's like instant. So yeah, that is that. But there's two gameplays, like the electro version and the Umbro one. You don't want to do both because you have to build only one anyway. So you have to choose which one you want at the start. They do the exact same damage. How you build it with whatever insignias and circuits you get will determine which one will do more damage. But at a baseline, they will do the exact same damage. Just pick what you like most. I really like the yellow skills. I like the dash. The dash is super fun. So I'm gonna be playing this in electro. It's not. I'm gonna be playing it in Umbro. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about the gear set. Let's talk about the class gear set, because I've had a question about this quite a lot in the comments. Now, people are asking me why I went for the full Destiny set. Now, the 5-piece set effect for the class is a really cool class effect over here. That doesn't really matter that much. Actually, one here, the unity buff is pretty good, because that means every time you do your electro damage, electro skill, and then your Umbro skill, you're gonna get an extra skill damage bonus here, stacking to 5 times, so 15% for 20 seconds. Easily upkeep, easily 100% upkeep on this buff over here. But the major one here, which I really like, is the 5-piece set effect. It gives momentum blade 30% damage, right? Which is kind of the bread and butter skill. And all skills generate momentum blade energy 100% faster. Momentum blade energy is your class resource over here. So down here. I wanna show you how this one feels without the set effect, and I want people to understand why I say the Destiny set is pretty good on the class. So let's say I go 3-piece cavalry, right? So I am 3-piece cavalry. There you go. I don't have my Destiny set anymore. I do have only the 2-piece. Let's see how quick it is that we generate this. Let's use the drill skill. We already seen how quick the drill skill gives you energy. So I'm just gonna do it this skill alone. That gave us around 3/4 of a stack, right? 3/4 of a stack. Let's do the Q one. The same 3/4 of a stack. Let's take back the class set. So now we are in 5-piece Destiny. See, let's do that skill again, the drill. See, we got a full and something else, and then boom, 2 skills, and I'm almost on 3 stacks. So this one gives you, and that will apply to every skill. Every skill will get 100% more energy if you have the class set effect active. Now I have played a full rotation with without this Destiny buff, and to be honest, it feels bad. And the idea is it feels bad because there's so much downtime, and this buff as well applies to even basic attacks. So okay, let me quickly showcase that. So 5-piece set effect. This is how much energy you get with your basic attack. Let's do like two full rotations of the basic attack. So shit, I cancelled it. I cancelled it. So I can start again. 1, 2, right? We got almost 3/4 of a bar. 3/4 of a bar. Let's remove the destiny set. Let's put in maybe gloves. Now we have the 3-piece cavalry and then 2-piece destiny. Let's see how much bar we get with the basic attacks here. So this one we got to like 3/4 on 2 rotations. So 1, 2. See the difference? And that's only on basic attacks. Combine that with all your skills and you'll realize how much slower you're getting energy without your 5-piece set effect. Now this can be just me. I don't know, I'm just a hater of Hex just red pieces. I don't know why. But yeah, I don't know. I would actually just say the class set effect just changes how you play the class. And I think that's more superior than just getting a little bit of extra damage here. So you can always combine this one with the cavalry helmet and then the breastplate, all the boots. It doesn't really matter which. I like the boots personally, but there's people who would argue the breastplate is a little bit better. But for me, I would do chest piece, helmet of cavalry, or chariot if you don't really need the cooldown. But me as someone who doesn't really spend, I'm no longer free to play. I do spend a couple in battle passes and stuff. I'm gonna be using this one because I like a lot of cooldown. And then my boots because I like movement speed and the damage buff you get from it. And you're getting a lot of damage movement speed on the class anyway as a base. But yeah, this is the gear I'll be running with. When it comes to weapon, Tenebra's weapon there, I might actually try it with the elemental one once I get my hands on it. But yeah, that is that. And then when it comes to your circuits, you're gonna be focusing a lot on just basic magical attack sub attributes. So your magical crit, your magical attack, your intelligence, and your spirit is what you're gonna be looking for. And then you're gonna be looking for a lot of electro enhance if you are building electro. And then you're gonna be looking for a lot of umbro enhance if you are building umbro. You cannot build both, remember, you cannot build both. You'll have to choose one to focus on. Building both kind of sharps your DPS a little bit. So if you build a lot of electro, use your electro momentum blade to get the most bang for your buck on the electro damage buff. So I'll be doing electro because it's a really good element to have. And the vulnerable debuff is a little bit easier to upkeep as well, unlike the exhausted one, right? So circuits insignias that give damage to vulnerable will also be really helpful on this class if you're building electro. So for things like your stellar circuits, I'll be doing electro there, and then also getting the best sub attributes I can get there: crit damage, magical crit, electro, spirit, things like that. However, once you start getting into the really high crit rate, because you can start getting a lot of that from like insignias and cards and stuff like that. When you start getting high crit rate, you wanna start going to maybe more CDR, because CDR on Mirage will be really good. The more skills you can do, the more energy you can get, the more momentum blades you can cast. So you see, it's like a food chain over there. So the more blades you are casting, the more damage you're doing. It's as simple as that. So CDR is very important on Mirage. So when you start getting high on crit rate, you can start working on CDR, and also don't forget about your crit damage as well, because crit damage is also a very important stat to always make sure you have it a little bit high. So to start with, this is the easiest way to get crit rate. So if you have very low crit rate, just use your crit rate circuits, and then start slowly changing them into other crit rates, other stats when you start getting crit rate from other sources. So yeah, and then for your outfit insignias, we don't really have access to those here, but for outfit insignias, I do believe we will have a selection chest for that. And if you can get momentum blade there, you want to get 6 of them and then put them in all of your pieces. I think it's 6 or 8. I think it's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 of them. Stack all of them. That's how outfit insignias work. You want to stack the main skill you're using, right? So 6 insignias for momentum blade, set them in your armor, in your outfit pieces. Now when it comes to insignias, okay, I'm very pay to win in this one. So this is not what this is not what a normal person would expect to have. So let me just quickly swap this one. So for your let's start with the poor man's thing here. So for your weapon, you wanna do mechanical core insignia to swap into electro, assuming you are using electro. One really cool thing this Insignia will do is it will make all your skills, even your Umbro skills, do electro damage. So it's a high priority Insignia to do. So you'll notice that even your Umbro skills now will do electro damage. So it's a really good Insignia to have. You want to like prioritize this one. It's around 10 million gold just to get it at level 1. It's already good. So that's the first one that's the one I cannot compromise. You cannot, there's no better one to do here. If you're using you wanna do for Umbro, you wanna go for witch. I don't have the witch Insignia here. They kind of forgot to give us that to us. But if you're going Umbro, you're gonna be going for witch. If you're going Electro, you're gonna be going for mechanical core Insignia. Just level 1 is okay. You don't have to max it out. Just level 1 will give you the best thing. There's no better one. The other option is maybe Magitech or Void Soveling, but it's not really that good. You need to convert everything to one element. Like electro, super good. Now when you go to your helmet, Claudius is for the pay to win people. Normal people like us, we're gonna be doing Andre. So you can do Andre Insignia here, and if you have the money, do Claudius, because Claudius is like best in slot over here. However, you do have Plague Insignia, which is the new one. It does give you elemental enhance and damage to bosses as well, which is super good. But the thing about elemental enhance is the higher you go, you start getting diminishing returns. So if you're hitting around 220 elemental enhance, you want to stay away from elemental enhance stat increases and start doing something like crit damage to get that really high as well. So for your helmet, Claudius or Andre Insignia, right? Then let's go to your chest piece. You have your tower shield here for the normal citizens. So tower shield is pretty good. For those people who can afford this, you can do Ophelia. Ophelia is really good. Or you can do Claudius if you even want even more crit damage. This one is a choice between these two, cooldown rate or crit damage. Ophelia, super good if you want extra elemental enhance here. If you're not really close to 220 elemental enhance, you can go for Ophelia first as a priority. But if you are really high there, you want to go for Claudius. And then let's go to your pants. Pants, you have Goramos here. I think there is no epic ones for pants. I am not sure, don't quote me on that, but if there is, yeah, there's probably a better one. But for now, Goramos is the best in slot for your pants here. And then for your gloves, you wanna go for Mirandia. If you are someone with pay, it's just really good. Mirandia is just insane. Mirandia is one of the best in slot insignias for this piece. If you don't have Mirandia, okay, most of us don't, you can do Asian Guardian for some more CDR as well there. And then you're gonna go for gloves. For boots, the same thing, Mirandia. If you do not have Mirandia, you can go for Electric Whip, which gives you electro damage and damage to vulnerable, which is a really good buff to have. It gives you some electro stuff and damage to vulnerable. If you don't have access to this, you can go for more CDR if you want, but the electro one is higher priority. If you're doing Umbro as well, if you're doing Umbro, you just substitute it for the Umbro one. So for Umbro, you go Joker. For Electro, you go Electric Whip. That is the idea behind the store. For your necklace, of course, more electro damage here. If you're going Umbro, you do Joker. And then for your bracers, if you want more crit, you do Clockwork Warden. If you want more crit damage, you do Thunderbolt. So the two options here you can have. And then Dark Flow Ring, Andre Insignia is just the best. Carnos is super bad. You don't want to use that one at all. And then for Seal, if you are between, just do Azir, as it is super good. It's so broken. Too expensive though. But for normal people like us, we're going to be doing Goramos, putting Goramos in your Seal. And then for Talisman, you can do Tower Shield Mech Insignia, gives you skill damage there. Damage against resonance during resonance is not bad, but the uptime is pretty low, so it's not really a good one. So you want to go for Tower Shield because it's always up there. But if you have the money to spend, you do Azir. You only do Famine if you really need way more elemental enhance. But if you are like really high up again, as I said, around almost close to 220, don't use that. Use the Azil. Azil is just much better. The damage to bosses buff when you level to 8 to 3, it's 8%. And especially if you are someone who's just trying to use this at level 1, do not spend the money on getting stuff that you're gonna change later on, because these things are like really expensive, really expensive. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it for Insignias, and I think I've covered almost everything I had about the Mirage. If you have any questions, please write down in the comment section below. I always answer a lot of the comments down there, you guys know that. And I think that's it. I am gonna take a little bit of a break. I have yapped for way too long, and I'm gonna be checking out the Spectre, and I'm probably gonna be making a guide of that one later on, maybe the day of tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, and then I'll post that one as well. So thanks guys for watching a lot. I really thank you guys for watching my videos and subscribing, and I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.